welcome to another Pentax kitchen table lens review. If you've seen my other recent videos, you'll know that I'm making these when the kids are asleep, so if the baby monitor goes off, I'll have to stop and start again, or maybe just cut it so it might get a bit choppy. Anyway, this lens review is of the Pentax-D FA Star 2.8 70 to 200 millimeters lens. This is a workhorse of a lens. Run through the tech specs and then we'll talk about my opinion of this lens. So, to the technical specifications of the HD Pentax-D FA 70 to 200 millimeter f2.8 ED DC AW lens. It's a star lens, which means it's Pentax's highest standard of lens. The FA means it's full frame, HD is the coating, ED refers to dispersion glass that's in the lens, the DC is the silent autofocus motor, and AW means all weather, which is Pentax's highest level of weather sealing. One of the first things I noticed when I got the lens was the lens hood has a pull-out insert to allow you to use a filter like a polarizer and be able to turn it with the lens hood on, which I thought was great attention to detail, and it's the only Pentax lens that I've bought that has that little thing. It's a little thing, but I thought I showed attention to detail. This lens has some serious weight in it. It is 1755 grams without the hood and without the tripod foot. The tripod foot adds another 191 grams and the hood adds 80 grams. So this lens is practically 2 kilograms in weight, which is about 4 pounds, I believe, in imperial measurements. The filter size is 77 millimeters, so it's a substantial piece of glass. It's 203 millimeters long and it's 91.5 millimeters wide. It has 19 elements arranged in 16 groups, so you can see the weight comes from there being an awful lot of glass inside that lens. The diaphragm has 9 blades which are rounded, which should lead to good round bokeh balls. It has quick shift autofocus. The autofocus is internal, which is generally the case with a star lens. It has a maximum wide aperture of f2.8 and a minimum of f22. The minimum focus distance is 1.2 meters or 120 centimeters. It's been produced since 2016. It remains in production and it is one of Pentax's premier lenses. It has an AF/MF switch, as you would expect. It also has a focus range limiter and a tripod mount. It is incredibly sharp, and you'll see that if you look up the ratings on Pentax forums. It's a KF3 mount, so it will fit most of the current digital range, but you should definitely check if you're looking to put it on another older lens, and it doesn't have an aperture ring, so it is no use to film shooters. Well, I suppose that's technically not true. They could shoot wide open, but who wants to shoot wide open all the time? Well, I know some people do actually, but I certainly don't. It's an incredibly well-balanced lens as well, as far as the weight is concerned. Alright, so this lens, workhorse of a lens. Every portrait photographer should have this lens. There is, as you probably know, people call the trinity of lenses that every professional photographer will have in the zoom range. So for Pentax it would be the DFA Star 15 to 30, the DFA 24 to 70, and the DFA 70 to 200, so this would be the longer end one. This is the one that most portrait photographers would want. 70, great for headshots. 200, really gets that nice background compression. So it's a fantastic lens. Now, zoom lenses, what I don't like is when people compare zoom lenses to prime lenses. As far as I'm concerned, they're two completely different things. With a zoom lens, you accept some limitations in the image quality because of the utility that the lens is providing you with. You can only get down to 2.8, which sounds fast but isn't when you compare it to a 1.4 or 1.2 lens. So yeah, you accept there's some utility about it. So sometimes it can be quite hard to get passionate about zoom lenses, but not this one. This lens is truly amazing. The focus is fast, it's accurate, it's silent, the image quality is stellar. I've never taken a photo with it that I was disappointed in the image quality. I might be disappointed in my own composition, on my own, but the framing, but then my shortcomings, nothing to do with the lens. The lens is awesome. It's perfectly weighted to go with the K1 with battery grip as well. I'll generally hold it like that with my K1 when I'm working with it, or like that, and I use my thumb to do the zoom. Don't know if you can see that. That's my way of working. You can get quite a stable position with it. So it's lovely on top of a tripod if you use the tripod collar as well. I don't really have a bad thing to say about this lens. It does have the focus limiter on the side as well, which I never use. I can see why it's there and I can see that it's useful, but I have absolutely no use for it whatsoever. That's not true, really. Yeah, I have used it. Yes, I have. That's not true. When I shot my kid's sport day, I knew that I was 4 meters away from his closest point, the closest he could get to me during the sports day, and I did knock it onto the 4 meters to infinity. Yeah, but in the studio, when I'm using it, I just leave it on full all the time. It's just, there's no lag in it whatsoever. If I was shooting a wedding with it, I might be tempted to use it more. But this is just me. I'm paranoid about switches. I really don't like switches. I always think they're easy to switch and forget you've switched them and wonder why the lens isn't working properly. And weddings, for example, are quite a high pressure scenario where it's very easy to make a mistake like that. And sometimes with switches, I've actually seen reports of people saying that they've had problems with the switch on this lens, that it's not focusing properly, and they've realised that although the switch says it's back on full, it's actually limited, and they've had to turn it back and turn it back again. So yeah, that's one reason I wouldn't use it. But generally, it's so fast, who cares? Yeah, I always use the lens hood. It makes it look a bit ridiculous in length. A bit intimidating when you're doing somebody's headshot at 200 mils with this, which I have done many times. But yeah, as far as zoom lenses go, this is the best zoom lens I have ever used. No two ways about that. Yeah, this is the best zoom lens I have ever used. Wouldn't hesitate to recommend it to anybody. Would never buy it full price though. It comes on sale regularly. I don't know what Pentax sales are like in the rest of the country, but here, there's always a Black Friday sale. That's probably the best one. There's always a sale over Christmas, which is not quite as good as the Black Friday sale. There's regularly a sale at Easter. I think I paid about $1,400 for this, brand new, when at the time the retail price was $2,000. I'm not sure what the retail price for it is now. That's pounds, UK pounds. Anyway, take you through some images. Haven't selected the images yet. Hopefully there should be some client images in there, and some general bits and pieces to give you an idea of what the lens looks like. So I have a really quite eclectic mix of photos for you here. It appears, looking at my catalogue, I use this lens quite a lot, and I use it as a walk around lens, which is not what you'd expect for a lens of this weight, but it is really nice to get the quality out of it. What I've noticed as I've gone through the images though is that at 200 it's definitely its softest point as far as image quality is concerned. It's definitely softer at 200 than it is at shorter focal lengths. And something else I've always suspected about this lens that I probably haven't mentioned earlier in the video, I don't think 200 is really 200 most of the time, unless you're focused at infinity. Anything closer and it feels like it sucks in a bit. Might just be me. I've got no conclusive proof of this whatsoever. It's just my personal gut feeling, having used several different lenses over the years. So we go, just a random selection of images really to let you see the image quality at different ISOs and focal lengths, etc. as usual. As I say, I think the quality is outstanding. Some of the best photos I've ever taken of my kids have been taken with this lens wide open around the house. Which, yeah, it's quite a big lens to be using around the house, but they've all been random grabs. Normally when I've been playing around with the lens for some reason, checking it, and it seems to have performed really well. It's because the focus is accurate. I think that's why you managed to get these random moments with it. As you know, I don't really show the pictures of my kids in these sort of videos for, well, if you know me, you know the reasons, but anyway. Here's a few images. There's a parade that takes place in my current town every year that I normally go down and take some photos of. Classic vehicles and the like. You see this one's at 200, and the focus is definitely on the back of the vehicle, but you can see there's definitely some sort of softness to the image. You probably don't get the purpose of that vehicle unless you're British, although I don't know, maybe the TV show Only Fools and Horses has travelled widely. Again, 170, it always feels a little bit sharper if you just shorten the focal length slightly. These are again embedded previews, which are the JPEGs the camera would have made if I hadn't been shooting in RAW only, based upon the settings within the camera. If you click embedded preview off, you can suddenly see the actual RAW file, which obviously is a little bit flatter. But the colours, I always feel it renders really nicely. Does quite a good job of red, which red is always the problem colour for me with all Pentax cameras. Although actually I think it might be all cameras that seem to have issues with red. There's a few shots from a zoo. I'm sure you guessed it was a zoo and that I hadn't actually gone out hunting for polar bears anywhere in northeast of England. So you can see from these, you can see what I mean about it. It's a little bit soft at 200, but not soft enough that I wouldn't stick with it. It's still an awesome lens. So for a zoo trip or something like this, the 150 to 450 might be a better choice of lens. But I don't have one. I haven't thought of an excuse to tell my wife of why I need one yet. So there will be no review of that until I have one, if I ever get one. And even then, to be fair, I don't like to review anything unless I've lived with the lens for quite some time. I think I took this photo at lunchtime once, just when I was having some issues with my camera and I was trying to test some things. You know, the way you do, imaginary issues that weren't really there. This is obviously a very exciting image, but what I did was I kept it in here because I thought it was useful to see. I must have been testing the lens in my office, and as you can see, it's at 200 mils. The focus is on the writing on the spine of the diary. It is handheld at 1/13th and it's f2.8, so there probably is some hand movement in there, although I do have quite steady hands. But you can see that it's softest at 200. Now, it might just be down to me and the hand holding. To be fair, I hadn't realised when I added it in there that was at 1/13th of a second. But you know, Pentax stabilisation is awesome. If you find the videos that I'm making remotely useful, then I would really appreciate it if you subscribed. If you don't like the different videos I'm making, then please feel free to give them a thumbs down, but remember to do it twice, that's the only way it counts. Thank you, see you soon.